Hello and welcome to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I'm in the book of Kings, part 2, working through the final two chapters, chapters 24 and 25. And are they really dramatic chapters. So if you want to know the details, hold on tight because here we go. So we begin chapter 24, and with this chapter we have a king by the name of Nebuchadnezzar, which is quite a long name, so I'm going to keep calling him the king of Babylon, because that's who he is, and he makes a prominent entry into this chapter. We also have in the picture today King Joachim, who is the king of Judah, and it starts off with him becoming a servant to the king of Babylon, and he is a servant for him for 3 entire years. So we're starting to see the demise of the Judah tribe. As God had prophesied, things are starting to now take shape. And the Judah tribe are starting to get weaker and weaker with the armies of the Babylonians, Syria, Moab, and Ammon. Now the Lord sends prophets to Judah, but they don't listen. They are on their own paths and they're not taking any notice, nor do any of the rulers. Now Judah had 0 in terms of allies, places to run, because the king of Babylon had taken over all of the land from Egypt right to the river Euphrates. We learn that King Joachim dies and then his son takes over. His name is Jehoiachin. I hope I'm getting these pronunciations right because these names are not the easiest to pronounce. And his son only lasts as leader of the Judah tribe for 3 months. And that's because he starts a rebellion against the Babylon king, and then he is captured along with his mother, wives, servants, and officials. They are all taken to Babylon. So you can see, as God had said, they were to be cursed, and this is what is happening to them. The demise of Judah is only going to get worse. The king of Babylon strips their Lord's temple of all its treasures, takes everything from it. He also took all the craftsmen. Anybody who was really talented was taken to Babylon. And this is all building up his empire. The king of Babylon then takes King Jehoiachin, who has been captured now. He takes his brother and makes him king instead. Now his name is Mattaniah, but the king of Babylon changes his name to Zedekiah, and he's only 21 when he starts, and he reigns for 11 years. He's another wicked king, and he rebels against the king of Babylon. The king of Babylon, as the end of this chapter, basically takes everything from Judah and Jerusalem, except for the very poor people. They are left alone. So Judah, as you can see, is really starting to go under. So that closes chapter 24. We are now going to open chapter 25, the grand finale. And this begins in Jerusalem during the 9th year of King Zedekiah's reign. So he has a total of 11 years. So this is his 9th reign. We're going to find out what happens to him. So it starts. The king of Babylon surrounds all of Jerusalem with his army of people. This is the city being besieged. Nothing can get in and no one can get out. And so when this usually happens, and it did, a great famine then enters the land of Jerusalem. Now eventually, with them getting weaker and weaker inside, the Babylon army outside, they eventually break down one of the walls and then they're in and the attack starts. Now King Zedekiah, he tries to escape with his bodyguards. Late at night, he's out there running, trying to get away. But he is not able to escape. He is captured. He's then sentenced and judged, and he gets a life of imprisonment in Babylon. He is greatly punished and he suffers horrendously because he ends up watching each of his sons one by one being killed. And the Babylonians even eventually cut out his eyes and tie him with bronze shackles. 1 month later, the captain of the Babylonian army, Zebuzardan, he goes and he empties out all of Jerusalem. So they start looting what's left over. So they take the bronze pillars from the temple, the mobile stands, and all of the utensils used in that service are taken. They then burn the city, and that includes the Lord's temple, the palace, and all the houses in Jerusalem are burned down and destroyed. Now, everybody is taken from there to Babylon, apart from the very poor. They are left there to work in the vineyards and the fields. The rest of them are captives now to the Babylonians. Then the king of Babylon makes Gedaliah governor over the people remaining. Now he is the grandson of Shaphan, who was the secretary to King Joshua of Judah. Now when all the captains of the armies of Judah, the ones on the outside, they hear about this, they go to this governor and they listen to his oath, and he says, look, we've been captured by them, just let them take you and they'll be good to us. That was his way of looking at it. He was a kind and godly man, and that is kind of why the Babylonian enemy put him there, to try and coax the rest of them into just submitting and becoming part of the Babylonian Empire. But after 7 months, the Judah army captains come and they assassinate Gedaliah. They then all flee to Egypt because they are obviously in fear of the wrath of the Babylonians. Now, just to note, if you're reading the Bible, you might see in there Chaldeans, which is just another name for the Babylonians. Now we go back to King Joachim. Remember, he was the one placed in prison with his wives, his servants, and all of them. Well, he's had that life imprisonment. This is his 37th year in prison. And we've got a new king now in Babylon, and his name is Evil-Merodach. Now he releases the Judah king, and he is very kind to him. He doesn't release him from Babylon, he's still a captive, but he's released from prison, and he's given a high place in his palace, and he's given food, and he's looked after for the rest of his life. And that closes our chapter 25. So what a journey we have been on within the book of Kings 2. There has been so many changes in terms of kings. We've had wicked kings, we've had good kings, we've had the point where some of the kings were just so evil. Now they have caused this demise on the Judah tribe, and now there has been total destruction. So we will have to find out in the upcoming books what happens. The next set of books are going to be the Book of Chronicles, so we'll be seeing in more detail how these events happened, and I'm going to continue working through those. So if you want to learn more about the Book of Chronicles, keep following on. There'll be more videos to come. Thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care now. Bye.